welcome to Your Soul Wisdom, hosted by Yana Amor Manocas. In each episode, we invite you on a transformative journey delving into the profound mysteries and wisdom of the soul. Join us as we explore a wide array of spiritual topics and sacred practices that nurture and heal the soul, from reincarnation and soul contracts to the enigmatic experiences of womb alchemy and astral travel. Our discussions are designed to enlighten, inspire, and deepen your understanding of your own soul's journey. With Your Soul Wisdom, nothing is off limits. Hi, everybody. Welcome. And I just want to really dive into this really, really special episode with one of our very own, Lauren Calvert. Girlfriend, today is about you. Today is about the beauty of who you are and what you do and how you show up to the world and how you show up for us. And there's just something so magical about you. So I really want to get into that. So I'm really just diving right in. And I kind of want to start off with my personal experience of meeting you. And so as we've talked about before, for you, or for me, I met you on a soul contract reading training, and you were assisting in, I think, all three of my trainings. Rachel was there with us, and you were just like this beautiful woman on the side who was quiet, but there was so much going on in there. And every time you spoke, it was like this magical thing coming out where the way you said it, the sound of your voice, the words that came out, I was like, who in the world is this woman? And how can I be more like that? That was my personal experience, because I'm loud and aggressive and I'm like that. And you're like this gentle angel. Your energy is just, it's just so light. And I'm like, how the heck can I get that? And I can't. And that's okay, because I am me and you're you.
And we're here together.
Yeah, and we're here together. And so then while that experience was beautiful, it was Rachel who then says to me, have you ever had divine healing with Lauren? Have you ever had divine healing with Lauren? Have you ever had divine healing with Lauren? And I was like, no, I guess I'm going to have to do divine healing with Lauren. And I book with you, and in total, what do we have? 4 sessions?
3 maybe. Yeah, okay. 3 or 4. Yeah.
Something of that sort. And what I really am trying to say is I truly believe those sessions are really why we are here today in this capacity. Why I have shown up today in this capacity. And it is because, as we know, divine healing is very much your higher self, my higher self get together. We sort out whatever underlying subconscious issues or maybe conscious issues show up, and we help reprogram them into this beautiful, new, positive belief, all that stuff. Okay. You kept hitting on these different things that you were divinely guided to. Some of them were about me being busy. Some were just my own self-worth stuff. Okay. So you tapped into the self-worth. And I think you said to me, because I use this all the time now, when we hit the self-worth, I think you asked me on a scale of 1 to 10 where my self-worth was. And I was ready to be like, girlfriend, it's at a 10. I am worthy to have everything in the world, because that's how I've always felt. And before the words could even come out, I think I started crying. And I was like, what is this shit? This should not be a thing that is actually activating something that I'm unaware of. And so long story short, you helped bring up this part of myself that just felt like I didn't feel fully worthy for whatever it was, whether it was abundance or love or whatever it was that came up. And I remember that really struck a chord, and we went through the healing and all that. And it was during those 3 sessions and the result of those 3 sessions where I really felt like I have to show up like myself, my true nature, my true self, because I know I am worthy and good enough for everybody to see that side of me, Because we all know in this spiritual space, if you are in a part of your life where you have friends and family who aren't really in that space like you are, you're the odd one out. You are crazy. You are different. Like something is wrong with you. And so I battled a lot with that because, especially as I'm stepping into the soul contract space, dealing with these the Hebrew numbers and letters and all that, that I was living two different lives. I was Yana to my friends and my family, but on social media and trying to shift my career, I'm stepping into the soul contract stuff, not putting my face out there, not using my words, just, whatever stupid post. And I know this sounds so like inconsequential, but through your healing sessions, through digging up that self-worth, through me realizing that is me actually stepping into my authenticity, I knew I had to show up differently. And I knew I had to show up and go, hey, world, this is who I am fully. I'm so happy. I'm so proud. Here's what I have to offer. I hope it resonates with you. And if it doesn't, family, friends, whatever, I'm okay with that. And that took all the courage in the world for me to do. But it allowed me to then fully step in and not give a shit anymore. And I got my channel up. I got the other podcast going. Then we got together. I would not be sitting here, and I fully feel this, if it was not with you. We five would not be doing this. You activated something within me that switched all these lights on, and it was like, go. We're not sitting back in time, and it was go. And it was all directed to you because you just had this ability to really hone in and very gently guide something within me that was blocking me. And I know I've gone in a little bit of a rant here, ladies, but it's like that journey for me is so huge and it's everything. And without you, it just wouldn't be possible.
I'm not sure what to say. Thank you.
No, well, I'm like, I feel the same way, and I'm like thinking, like that's what Yana got out of 4 sessions. I'm like, I see Lauren every week. You can't even imagine how much Yana. I mean, like, talk about there is no chance of me being here, no chance of me being in this time space reality without Lauren and what she's done. Yes, she is a magical person, but it's so gentle.
Yeah.
And so profound. Like, I get goosies. Like, Lauren gets you to go to the places and so skillfully, that you don't even know exist, let alone that you're hiding them. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't even imagine what clue she's even seeing or feeling to have the understanding and the clarity. But yes, it is, Lauren, compliments me for showing my sort of shadow side, and part of me thinks, yeah, that's nice, lady, but what is the freaking point in trying to hide it as well? So all I'm going to look like is I'm a hidey person as well as everything else. I must be upfront about it. But yeah, Yana, sorry, I just wanted to second everything.
Well, listen, this is clearly,
it is an extraordinary experience.
Yeah, and this is clearly the Lauren Calvert fan club. But what I really want to know is absolutely. What I really want to know is, like, I would really love it if you could kind of walk us through how you even got here, because from what I do know, you've had this wild journey in life and you've had your own fair share of stuff, and yet your light is so fully on and you shine so bright, and I think a lot of people just wouldn't be able to. Right. So that is so relatable and so important to kind of like share and maybe walk us through.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Okay. So in terms of how I got here, I guess, it was a bit of a journey, like we all have them. And so for me, when I was born, I came out crying, and I cried for like the first 7 years because I really didn't want to be here. Okay. My whole family will tell you, there was literally no more children because I cried so much. So it's true. They wanted 4, they only got 3. So there was something, I was extremely sensitive to my environment and my surroundings. And I didn't know what it was. So for me, I was very internal when I was younger, and the environment felt very harsh. Whatever may or may not have happened, whoever was around me, you know, I have had a number of experiences with different types of energies, but it or just always completely overwhelming, I guess, my system. So I do believe that I had ability to talk to spirit and to see things and, those sorts of things when I was younger, but that I did sort of shut them down. And for me, there was a lot of protection stuff going on myself, right? So I've also got nines in my chart, soul contract, all about empowerment. So I had some really strong energies around me, at school as well. I was bullied really badly. So I ended up putting on a lot of weight. So food was my friend. It was like that and my cat, right? That was it. So I used to eat a lot of food, and that used to sort of soothe me. And then, of course, I was bullied for being overweight as well. So not only was I the person that cried all the time, my brother could literally look at me and I would burst into tears. Um, Bless him. Not that he was mean to me, he just knew it was like a party trick. It's like, look, I can do this, and Lauren will burst into tears.
Aww.
So I was that person that cried all the time and was deeply, I was very internal. I was an introvert, right? Although you can get me in situations and I don't appear to be, I am an introvert. So I was an introvert and I was struggling with all of these energies I could feel. And then I was also quite badly bullied and had some, not nice things happen to me. So by the age of about 8, like I think I didn't want to be here anymore. Like I have the memory. I actually, walked to the kitchen and opened the drawer and went, which knife could I use? It was that strong in me. And, in saying that, if anyone's watching and they are feeling in any way like that, please, go and, see someone and seek help. And there are so many places where you can get that. But the thing is, I didn't, obviously. And, I was before we came here today, I was trying to reflect on what it was. And the thing is, as deep in the depths of how I felt, and I do feel like I've been in really deep, dark places like a lot of my life, it's like the whispers from my soul were always strong enough to cut through in a way that didn't sort of lift me right out of it, but got me to keep going, right? It just got me to, it was just like, I knew I had to keep going. I knew I could get through anything, and I knew I had to keep going, but it was a real struggle. So then I felt very, very alone in my feelings, and I felt a lot of feelings. And I feel like that's part of why the work I do, like that's how I am, because I almost, and that's the other thing, I do have empathic ability, so I can feel what you're feeling. So there is no judgment. I mean, how can we judge for feeling feelings? They're your feelings, and there's a reason. But I also used to have really big thoughts when I was little, like about how can you judge people? How can you know what's going through their head? How can you know what they've been through? How do you know? So I used to like sit there and think about these things, under the age of 10.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, just a lot of thoughts, a lot of feelings. And it's like, I don't know, whether it was a guide or whether it was my soul just going, just keep going, just keep going, just keep going. So I kept going. And then I have 6s in my chart as well, and the 9s. And so there can be a tendency towards addictions or behaviors that are not necessarily, good for you. And I don't recommend any of these. But because I was heavily overweight and I was really badly bullied, like on the daily, like I can tell you, it was in like my last year of primary school, and there was a dance, right? And at that point I weighed more than I do now. Okay. And
Wow.
yeah. Yeah. So I was about 11. And this boy came up to me on the playground and he said, do you want to go to the dance with me? And my internal dialogue was, I don't even like him, but no one else is going to ask, so I'm going to say yes. And so I said yes. And then he went away and he came back with all the boys, and they were all saying to me as if anyone would ever ask you, and everyone was laughing at me.
Wow.
Oh, Lauren.
So you can imagine for someone who is so sensitive and like hanging on by a thread about why I would even want to come here because of just all of the energies that were around. Well, not even that. I mean, it's just like the sensitivity that I had and the harshness of the world, right? It's no one's fault. We've all got our journey. We've all got our soul map, but that's what I was experiencing on the daily. So you can understand why I just didn't really feel like I wanted to be here. And in that age, like, I don't know whether it's like I didn't feel like I could tell my parents my dad was away. I don't know what it was, but there was a lot of shame because I thought it was me. This is the thing. Like, I had all of these energies around me, and then I was overweight and everyone was telling me how terrible I was. And I just totally believed it. Right. And so the places, and I've got to, and I know I'm referring to my chart for anyone if it's helpful, but I have a 22-4 in my chart as well, which is ugliness to beauty. And there can be issues with, how you look and all those sorts of things, but also like self-denial, self-disgust, self-repulsion. That was my experience of myself. I hated myself so badly, right? And then everything went into trying to make myself someone that deserved to breathe in this world. Like, it was like I didn't even feel like I deserved that, right? I felt guilty for breathing. I don't know how to explain that any other way than that's just how I felt. So fast forward a little bit, probably 12, 13, 14, I ended up with an eating disorder. Never so extreme, that I ended up in it, but it did rule my life. And then I got really, really sick. So that's sort of when I started having sort of issues with my health. And when I say issues, I just mean I'm very, very sensitive, and I ended up with glandular fever, and I was in bed for like 3 months, that sort of thing in my early teens. And sort of moving along a little bit more, obviously I dropped a lot of weight, and then was feeling better about that, but not about anything else in the world, and still felt exactly the same way about myself. Ended up with an exercise addiction. So it's and also I have perfectionist tendencies. I say I have because they're really hard to shake, and I'm much kinder to myself these days. But so then it literally, my high school years were like exercising myself, to exhaustion, and studying a lot so that, I could do really well in my schooling. And it was like, that's what I would do. Go to school all day, go to the gym in the afternoon, study for 4 hours every night, study for 20 hours on the weekend. That was in my last year of school, because I just had to be amazing so no one could like reject me. But, it was also me trying to make myself feel better about something that none of these things could make me feel better about, right? So I did really well in school. and then I got chronic fatigue. So I got chronic fatigue because I had exercised stupid amounts, and also just the stress I was putting my body through, and I was still sensitive, and I wasn't managing my energy, and I wasn't taking care of myself, right? But I didn't know how to take care of myself because I didn't realize what I was working with here, right? And so when people were feeling emotions around me, I was feeling them as if they were my own. So like, not only was I feeling all these things about myself, I was feeling everything else. It was just like super overwhelming, which is something that I have had to learn about, and I'm still working toward mastering, right? But it's part of the reason I can do the work I do. And then, I hadn't gotten into any sort of healing work. I was always interested in psychics and doing cards, and I saw homeopaths and naturopaths and all these things. So that interest was already there. Anyway, so moved past chronic fatigue, had a shopping addiction. So these were all like, it's just like drugs and alcohol, but just different, because I couldn't do drugs and alcohol. My body wouldn't be able to take it, but it's just it's not my jam. But so ended up with like $40,000 of credit card debt when I was 22. Don't ask me what I spent it on. I've got nothing to show for it. Okay. But I was really trying to fill some hole with all of these behaviors. Anyway, so things sort of started to shift a bit. I was having panic attacks in my early 20s too. So like, there's just lots of things. I did seek help. I went and saw a psychologist. I hadn't started any kind of healing work yet. Then, my OCD started, I think I was around 17, and that went for 17 years. So I'm 41 now. Yeah.
Wow.
So
You lived
lots
like
of
17 lives.
It's like very extreme, right? But all sort of, similar behaviors, trying to control, trying to cope, trying to whatever I was trying to do. Obviously, none of it is very helpful, except this is something that I have come to realize. And I do say that I feel it is important to share, because there's a lot of shame around these things, because I'm like, how fucked up was I? Like, really, and so it's, none of them were things that I were proud of. And I really just hated myself even more for them. Right. Because, it was how I felt. But what I would come to realize probably in the last year is, if I didn't have those things to help me to this point, I probably wouldn't be on the planet. Okay. Because they did give me a point of focus, even if they were destructive. And that is not an excuse, and that is not advocating for any of these behaviors. But I have to forgive myself. I don't have to. I want to, because all of the things that I was doing at those times to get through, they have repercussions as you get older. Financially, they have repercussions. Health-wise, they have repercussions, all of these things. So it was in my late 20s. I was around 27 when my son was born. He had some health stuff, nothing too major, but it was big at the time. I was on antidepressants because I wasn't coping. And I was like, I need to do something. I need to do something. So I started seeing, he was a naturopath, a chiropractor, and he did something called NET, which is neuro-emotional technique. And so I started working with that, and I was like, I want to get off antidepressants. I think I started seeing it when I was 29, and I just found out, it was around that time I found out my dad was dying. Right. So my dad had motor neurone disease, or ALS. So I was working with him, and I did get off the antidepressants, and he was helping me with my son. And then, that was a bit of a sticky period of time. It was a pretty dark year. I fell pregnant with my second pregnancy, and then I had a car accident. I lost that pregnancy. And then my dad passed away like 5 months later. So that was like that was when I was 30, right? And that year just like, anyway. I did find out I was pregnant with my daughter 4 days after my dad's funeral. So, she was like the light that came in after all of that. But anyway, that's the other thing with car accidents. I've had 3. Like when I was 17, I wrapped myself around a tree. I don't know how I walked out of it. But anyway, so it was kind of my son being born, my dad passing away, and then me seeing this practitioner starting this NET work, and then I started seeing another one, and then I moved into to healing work. I started meditating. Nutrition was a big thing. There was one point, because I mentioned health history. When I say that, if I get a virus, it takes me down really badly. I actually have a generally low white cell count, like a little bit lower than most people. So I've really got to be careful. I take care of myself, with nutrition and supplements, and seeing, whatever practitioner I need and all those things. So like I am healthy now. But I got sick, and then I found out I had markers for 3 different autoimmune diseases. Not one, but 3. Rheumatoid arthritis, vasculitis, and lupus. Anyway, so I went, okay. So then I just like, I went,
Wow.
thank you, doctor, for letting me know. And I went, right, I'm sorting this shit out. Right. So then I, use nutrition, I use homeopathy, I use all sorts of things. And I'm pleased to say that that's all gone. Right. And I feel like my healing, work that I was doing, I started seeing a healer. Nutrition was a big part as well. But the biggest thing of all was actually just starting to find a way to be kind to myself and to care about myself and not think that I didn't deserve to be here. Right. So over the years, I've done lots and lots and lots of healing work. I would say, it's probably been maybe 8 years of really, really solid healing work. And following those whispers, because, when my son was little, they're like, oh, he'll be on this medication for the rest of his life. And I was like, I walked out of the doctor's office going, no, he won't. Oh. And then I was like on a mission, right? So yeah, it was about growing the belief in myself and not necessarily taking what other people said and just following whatever it was that was driving me, that got me sort of to here. So make a long story short, or to sum it up, after doing healing work for a while, the healer I was seeing said, you could do this. I went, oh, cool. That would be amazing. And so I went and did Reiki, and then I did, Reiki Master, and then I did another healing modality, and it sort of went on a roll. And I studied nutrition, like functional nutrition, and and then I think it was 2020 when I found out about soul contract reading, and I did the training then, and then divine healing, and so that's all it just sort of snowballed into here. But that is what brought me to healing work. And I think, Yana, Rachel, what you were both saying about like being in those places to feel those, I really feel like my ability to sit in really dark emotions helps me to hold space for others to feel that, but without judgment. Because there is I really judged myself for all the things I felt. I really felt a lot of shame for my behaviors and everything. It was always, what is wrong with me? And the biggest thing for me is to help people realize there is nothing wrong with you, and to come back to a place where you can love yourself fully,
Yeah, because I was going to ask you if you felt that when you went through all of these things, knowing what you know now, do you think it was kind of like, in a way, a threefold way of showing up for the life that was to come, so that you know what I mean? Sometimes it's very difficult in a sense when we are our own guinea pigs, but it in a way it kind of sets the tone for who we are going to be kind of working with, and how we work, and how deep we are able to go, and what we can actually feel, so that sometimes we don't even have to really go that deep, because we can recognize the signature of it. That everything has that spiritual signature, and we can recognize it. And I already know that you kind of hear the notes, you kind of hear what kind of music it's playing. So all of that has been how you've kind of honed your craft and everything. And when you talk about those sort of disease, illnesses that you had, they're very much to do with the energetic body. They are so much to do with the energetic body. Lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, and there was the other one that
vasculitis,
the vasculitis.
Yeah.
Wow. That's all to do with the human body. And I wanted to ask you a question. Do you think that when all the, say, in a sense, the addictions that you had, do you think they were cries for help?
Probably. I do. I remember, they probably were. Sure. Multiple things. Yeah. One was just trying to, I don't know, keep control and so I felt like I had something. And then it was probably a cry. I do remember, like, yeah, and that's the thing, no one actually addressed any of it. And I'm not saying that in a judgmental way or anything like that. It was me that had to pull myself out of everything, right? So there was a point in every single thing I went through where I went, I need to get myself out of this. So there were like no interventions or any of those things, if you know what I mean. So, and that's the thing, because I do have spiritual karmic sevens and a lot of people probably didn't even know any of it. Like I'm so good.
Yeah.
I am so good at making it look like I'm fine. Everything is good. I've got this. And I was such a mess.
So what's really interesting is, as you were talking, well, two things came to mind. One was, where were the adults? Was there not an adult, not a single adult, whether it was a parent, a teacher, a friend's parent, someone who's like, I see what's going on with Lauren and I just want to like touch base and see how she is and maybe help guide in a sense. Like, was that, because you were your own adult, it seemed like you were your own adult and teacher and help and guidance and all that. Did you not have any of that? Or did you just shut it down and they didn't even realize what was happening?
Probably a little bit of both. Okay, so my dad was away a lot. You know, my mum was, you know, and we've all got our own stuff. So I just want to say that. So it's not like us here. I do not blame my parents, you know, at all, you know, because it was all, as Amanda said, it was all really training so that I could be who I am now, right? And we know on some level I chose it, right? Well, I did choose it. So yeah, I don't have a lot of memory from when I was little. Okay. So I'm not one that can really remember a lot of my childhood. But I know my dad was away a lot. My mum had, you know, the three of us and, you know, whatever else was going on in the family at the time. I can't really speak to that, to be fair. I did have a teacher at one point who found me crying, like I think in the fetal position in the toilets at school, something like that, who did, you know, who did contact my family. But, you know, at that point, we didn't really take bullying as, like, I think we're starting to take it a bit more seriously now and understand the effects. And I'm really big on it. I'm just like, I'm all about being a kind person, because what you do, you know, like it took me decades to recover. But there were many things, and I'm not saying it was just that. I'm like, please. But, you know, just a couple of weeks ago, a 12-year-old girl in Australia killed herself. She committed suicide because she was being bullied at school. And it just broke me, because these, like, it's really, so I guess what I have brought my children up with, and I've explained to them how I had a difficult time at school and those things, I'm just like, always be a kind person. You don't have to like someone. You don't have to hang out with them, but don't go along with the crowd. And just be a kind person, because what you do in a one moment for someone who's going through things like I went through, like you could like literally save them.
Yeah.
Just by being kind. You know, they're so powerful.
Very powerful.
There was one point I write. And so I started writing in primary school. So I would be sitting there with my notebook writing about, I don't know, feelings or poetry, and like, I would just be writing, right? And, you know, Kylie had her tarot cards, or it was Amanda. I was sitting there with my book writing, right? And I think like in year 11 or 12, like, so that's coming to the end of my schooling when I was around 16, 17. I had one of my friends that I'd given one of my poems to, and it was dark. But it was just a way of me expressing things, you know. And his parents found it. And I remember him calling me going, my parents want to talk to your parents because they're worried that basically that I wasn't, you know, I was not in a good place. And I wasn't in a good place, but I knew that I would be okay. This is the thing. I always like I did know I would be okay. So I managed to control the situation because I didn't want to deal with that. And they didn't end up doing anything. But yeah, that was kind of it. So in my early 20s, when I was having panic attacks and I had the exercise addiction and I was coming into chronic fatigue and I still had eating issues, I did go to a doctor and he's like, oh, I think you've got a bit of that anorexia thing. But I just don't think that we were as aware in those days. Like these days, lots of people have lots of things going on and we're far more conscious of them.
Yeah.
But I just don't feel like the consciousness was there when I was going through it. And I was very good at hiding it. So,
Look, the irony is with the addictions that you had, like I'm not rushing to anyone's defense, but girlfriends of mine that have had eating disorders have told me, the irony is that when they look their best is when they're the illest. Do you know what I mean? But people just think they look great. So you would have looked great. You would have been gorgeous, fit. You would have been wearing, I imagine, really nice clothes and had stuff. Do you know what I mean? You would have presented.
Yeah, I always present
exactly
well.
As somebody who who was thriving is the irony of it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, like I finished in the top 3% of my schooling and I could have gone to do anything and I didn't do anything with it because I was so burnt out and I was just like, I just can't do this anymore. So yeah, I mean, I could be sitting here with a 45-degree temperature, which is like, you'd be dead if you had that, but I would look pretty good because I would just make it that way.
Which is that 24, right? But the thing is, you sharing those frequencies that play out for you, but you sharing all those experiences and those addictions and what we put ourselves through, that common theme is that self-worth, right? Which is what you pulled out of me. And
me.
When we don't feel like we are good enough or love ourselves enough, we are going to not eat to look better. We're going to buy something that's going to give us this momentary love,
dopamine hit.
Yes, dopamine. And then by the time you take off the tags and you spent all this money, you're like, I really could have done without it. That high wears out and it's back to really that depleted energy. And it's because I think of this now as a mother. I tell my daughter all day, every day, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. Not because I need her to know that I love her, but I want her to always feel and know that she is loved. And then I want to instill that within her so she never has to worry about, oh, am I loved? Am I good enough? All these things and nowadays, how you say, like, we're much more conscious of it. So years ago, I dated somebody and he had an older sister. She was married to this beautiful doctor. I mean, he was so handsome, you guys. They had 3 beautiful kids. But I energetically could just tell, like, for me, she felt like she was tortured inside. And then one day we went in the basement of her home where she had set up like this creative space and she was very talented, writing and artistic and all that. And she's like, I want you to come see this new painting I made. And I'm like, okay. And she like uncovers it. And it was a Nutella bottle, Nutella chocolate. We all know what that is. And what she painted was a bottle was squeezed with this rope around it. And I remember looking at that, dying inside, that she felt like I can draw anything today. But what I'm going to draw is the fact that I want to eat this Nutella, but I can't because I need to be thinner. Yeah. She struggled. She had 2 brothers who looked like Adonis. I mean, their bodies were like incredible. And as much as she also exercised and tried to do the right thing, she was a little thicker. And it weighed so heavily on her that it impacted her entire life. And I remember in that moment being like, is nobody aware that this is happening? And then how do you help that person? Because you don't want to overstep. But it was important for me to be like, I love you, girlfriend. Like, I'm here. I got you. Like, how can I help? I see this is a cry for help. In my mind, I'm like, how can I summons her husband down here? Has he seen this? Does he realize? But he was the kindest man. But internally, she was going through something that you just wouldn't have known, And nowadays, especially little girls and boys, that age of feeling suicidal, that age of eating disorders, that age of depression, we're talking like single digits. We're not talking about teenage and single digits. That is absolutely insane. Where did we go wrong, or where did we stop realizing that this is like such a huge thing? And now you yourself, like you stand here and you are just this like huge bright beam of light. You exude so much love and so much positivity and like support for people, that it's like, how can we get everybody to sit in that space? And I know you've had years of work, okay? And kudos to you, because you're the perfect example of you can get through anything, right? And I have moments in my life where I think like, I haven't had struggles like that. And I feel blessed in my life that I didn't have to experience that. But then I think to myself, there are so many people that really had to struggle. What you went through, you summed it up in 10 minutes. And you're like, oh, I went through this, but, there was this beautiful green light, this beautiful white light at the end of the tunnel. And, and it's, it brought me here. But having to deal with it every day is really heavy and really dark, and just.
Yeah. It was a lot. Yeah.
Does have, sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
She is incredibly kind, 100% kind, 100% tender, and as I said, extremely skillful. But holy shit balls, you have never met anyone as gritty and as persistent as Lauren. So don't be fooled. Because when you're getting treated with Lauren, it's a delightful experience. It really is. But if you think she's going to let you off the hook of anything until she's like, we've totally got to the actual end point, she will just keep going and keep going and keep going. And don't get me wrong, it's very gentle. It's like water. But she will, like, it doesn't surprise me at all that you said that you always knew that you'd be able to get through it. Because I always feel that when you're treating me, you always know you're going to get to the end of it. Sometimes we both need to swim a bit harder, but you are absolutely the grittiest chick I know.
Gift? Yeah, but isn't that the gift? Isn't that the gift? That's the ability to, there's no half measures with you. There's no halfway.
You're incredibly tenacious.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So, if you're going to accompany somebody on a journey, then you're on that journey, you know what I mean? To whatever end, and to whatever is at the end, you know what I mean? And so I think back to sort of, it's so incredible what you say, because I think back to working with you and just thinking that I mean, I think I said to you, like in the end stages, I said when it came to working with you, I was a bit nervous, because I felt this energy. Do you know what I mean? This kind of like when you're in the presence of something, and am I going to get checked? Do you know what I mean? Am I going to get like, it was like I was at the headmistress store, you know what I mean? And it's like, have you done all that you need to do? But you carry that kind of nurturing warrior kind of energy. That's what I always felt like. It was just phenomenal. You could feel it, you could see it, you could sense it. It was like, it was there, it's in the room. It's really quite crazy, actually. When I think, sometimes I hear some of the things that you guys say in a sense about yourselves, and I think, like, what? Like, really? But you really do carry that energy that you love with everything. That's what you have. You love with everything. It's not just the heart. You love with everything. So it's almost as like you see through all the different fields. So you see it on a mental level, an emotional level, you know what I mean, a physical level, an etheric level, whether it's etheric, you see it on all the different fields and what they all mean. How does that all, work out? Whereas, I'm kind of like, I'll be kind of like sitting there thinking, well, what does that mean? And I'm thinking that. So, I know what's going to happen now. Do you know what I mean? You don't. That's me. I'm kind of mumbling my way through it and kind of figure it out. But you almost get an instant picture on what's happening. So it's almost like, we've got another mile to go. We've got another mile to go. Yeah.
Thank you for putting it that way, actually. Yeah. Thank
It is.
you.
It's like Lauren is a fighter plane. And, when they have another fighter plane in their sights and they're chasing them, that's what it feels like. And then that noise will start when it's actually a full lock and you're like, we're here.
Oh, God, we're there. She's locked on. She's locked on.
Exactly. That's what it's like.
Lauren's sitting there and saying, I've got her in my sight. I've got her in my sight.
Yeah, never have I felt unloved. Do you know what I mean? Like, never have I felt scared or terrified or even awkward. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes resistant would have to be the truth. But, Lauren, as I said, you have an extraordinary power that is undeniable and almost like unable to, like, you can't push it back kind of thing. But at the same time, it is so incredibly gentle. Yeah. It's something like, I would like to say something like sometimes I think, I wish it were my mum, but it's not quite like that. It's something more than that as well. It's not as simple as a head pat. It's a true sort of really, like what Amanda said, actually, I beg your pardon, I don't mean to repeating, but you see seen entirely, not just, anyway.
Can I chime in here for a second?
Yes.
Yes, Kylie.
I've been very quiet over here, just absorbing all this.
Push through, Kylie.
I'm secretly loving that she's very awkward about a little bit of this. But I'm absorbing all the, all the comments and everything. So I have to say, I've known Lauren now for 8-9 years now.
Yeah.
And I remember back when we started, and we didn't meet in person at this time. So this was strictly an online relationship, right? And even back in that time, I'm like, there is something so fucking magical about this woman, right?
Yes.
And we had a mutual friend, we still have that mutual friend, Joe, who was like,
Hi, Joe.
Hi, Joe. There is something about her, and she needs to, like, she's got the gift and she needs to unlock it. What do we do? Like, what are we going to do? And I'm like, okay. Because this was all before, like, everything, I think all the blocks started falling into place, right? You knew that you had these beautiful, like, you were sharing these insights even back a decade ago. But you were struggling with, I think, I'm struggling to connect with spirit, but at the same time, you were channeling it directly and you didn't even know at the time, but you couldn't own it, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then it was like, as the years went on, you started to get these confirmations from people around you, like, that's really insightful. Where did she pull this from? Right. And then the modalities started, I've signed up for this and I've signed up for this and I'm going to do this. And I'm like, you don't need this because you are a pure channel of love and light and moonbeams, right? But you were just like, and it was so, I have to say, just watching you grow into, I love getting the divine healing and getting, like, I have access to Lauren pretty much daily, right? I'm one of the lucky ones that gets to access her. And it's such a gentle, but, like, she will put me in my place. She's like, yeah, no, and I love that, right? But it was that marriage of the stuff that was already there, plus just the confidence in believing in herself that came through the learning. Is just like, I am so proud of you for even taking that step, because you could have chosen to have sat. Even back as an 8-year-old, you could have chosen to have stayed in that place, because that's when you see people go down very dark roads and they don't come out of that, right? But you chose to pull yourself out of that, and not many people can. And I'm just so proud. I just have to say, I'm so proud of you to see you get to this point, and I get to be in your life, and I get to see you every day, and I get to Lauren special every day.
That's really cool.
It's amazing,
that's beautiful.
just to see that confidence merge with the knowledge, you know what I mean? So that's what I want to say.
Thank you. And also, absolutely have to shout out to Kylie, who has been there for the last 8 years, like, really encouraging me and really, teaching me through our friendship. It's like really mentoring me in a way, like,
you knew all this,
but being very, very patient,
Yeah,
very patient. She's patient. she can be patient.
Can be, choose to be. Yes.
She's been patient with me. So thank you, Kylie, for all of your help.
Mm. I do agree with you, Kylie, that all the modalities to me just give Lauren more vocabulary or something like that. But what Lauren is and what Lauren does is Lauren kind of thing.
Yeah,
and we
you
can
can't
call it
teach
divine
that.
healing. And theoretically, it's a divine healing session.
That's a
and
good
there's
point.
divine healing. But what Lauren is doing has really nothing. That's just a nice house to live in kind of thing. Yep. Anyway.
I just wanted to thank you, everyone. Oh my goodness, my head's going to be so big. I'm not going to fit through it.
It's not.
It's
just
not.
not.
On that video.
Just don't put our
Put that in the frame.
So I just wanted to speak about what Amanda mentioned earlier with the notes. So one thing I have recently realized, and I think it's being in this space and I know maybe moving to new levels, I don't know what it is, but when I hear someone speak, I have now realized what gives me my information. Okay. So, I mean, I do get visuals. I do have like a lot of clear senses. Okay. But I can hear in their voice gives me so much information. It's like, you know, it's like saying a picture's worth 1,000 words. The tone of your voice tells me everything I need to know. So it's like when we're going through the healing, that's what I'm listening to. And so you can be telling me something and I'll be like, no, that's not it. Like I can hear that it's not it. And then when we get there, I go, that's it. And then I can also hear the change in their voice when the healing's complete. So I'm just paying attention, like, because, you know, I'm learning how to operate whatever this is. You know, I'm learning how to master my craft, I guess, is a nicer way of saying it, whatever this is. And that's something that I've come to realize is really important, that I pay it, that's what I'm doing. I'm paying attention to, I'm getting all the information out of sound, really. It holds all the information. And I know when the healing's done. I know when they're feeling better. And I know if they're telling porkies.
But isn't that ultimately what it is really all about? Because it is about sound, isn't it? Because it's really the sound is the creation, isn't it? Of everything. So that's what you're really hearing, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is quite phenomenal. What that actually means is like, that's what I say, that I'm not always clear with my words because I like go into like the whole dribble of it. Like it was the ones, and the fours and the fives and the sevens. So I'm like, once again, I'm looking up in the corner of the window, thinking that's where I'm getting my inspiration from. But you know, but you're actually hearing then it's called the original patterns, I think, and it's called the original, I think it's called the fire template letters. It's called something, I think it's called something like that, which was the original patterns, even long before even say Hebrew or anything like that. Because I think for the most part, how we originally communicated wasn't necessarily, was it through sound? I don't know. I cannot remember what it was, but you're actually, oh my goodness, it's like I can see it, but I can't exactly explain it, what it is. And I don't even know if it really is the sound that you're hearing. It's almost like a frequency that you're in. And if it doesn't feel right, it's a frequency that you feel. So you can actually feel a vibration.
Like a tone.
It's like a, wow, that's it's almost like, in a sense, the sort of like the letters of, I would have said, creation, but then again, that's where are we going back to? I'm not even quite sure, because, you know, before all of that, we had the whole Sumerian language. You've got Sanskrit is actually one of the oldest, is the oldest that we have, in a sense, that we can really kind of understand, and that came before everything else. So, wow, the building blocks, I suppose.
And there is one more thing that I've realized recently, again, is like, is this all very recent that I've sort of started to go, what is it that I'm actually doing? You know, not just a modality, not just this, not. The other thing is I've realized, and it's probably a bit fivey, but I things, I was told by one of my mentors, notice what you're noticing. Okay, just notice what's you're noticing, and then sort of follow the thread and go into that. And a lot of the times where I say something that is so obvious to me, someone's like, what?
Right.
And I'm like, yeah. And so I know some of you will have this experience as well. I think, Yanni, you've said it before, but it's like, so now, when appropriate, I do just speak whatever I'm noticing, because I've stopped assuming that everyone can read that or is reading the energy in that way, I guess.
Yeah.
Something I took for granted before. Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, with you spent so much time in that space. And so to you, something that is very simple in that space, to somebody else, they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But you just don't feel like you need, like, if I explain this little baby step or this little minute detail, they're just going to think that I'm trying to dumb it down, but you're not. It's just because you're so high frequency and you are in that energy all the time that you almost speak a different language. And so going back to like what you just said, like that awareness, things that other people, it just goes right over their head. They don't even realize it's a thing. And so being able to share that in such a beautiful, delicate way is a gift that you have. And you do it in such a very simple terms, very loving manner that it's easily accepted by the other person. Does that make sense? Where I may come off more, God, I guess I'm myself harsh, but where I may come off more like direct, you come off from a very loving space, and it's easier for somebody to accept what you have to say or to be open to it because of your energy and the way you deliver it.
Yeah,
Lauren's so clever that she gets you to say it. That's how she gets you to work, just by the way. You're the one saying the things. She's just asking the questions. And so, there's no delivery. There's just realization and understanding.
Well, I was just going to second that. When I was going through that sort of like moment that I went through a couple of weeks ago, and when you messaged me with support, you said quite clearly what you felt was happening with me at the time in my response to it. And you said, that you felt there was a lot of tears, to me, like there was a lot of tears. And at the time I was emotional before that, but I didn't feel like because I was in a place whereby I didn't want to give this thing that emotion. Do you know what I mean? It didn't deserve that emotion. But I was hurt. And so when you said it, it was almost as if it gave me permission.
Yeah.
It gave me permission. And it was also how you said it, that I didn't feel like, I felt like I could be okay with saying, and so I did respond back to you, and I did say, yeah, you know what I mean? It's made me extremely, you know what I mean? And and I did cry. Do you know what I mean? Because what happened really hurt me. Do you know what I mean? Quite deeply. But it gave me permission to be okay and to admit and to say. And once that happened, it was like I could breathe, because before that I was kind of holding it in. I was kind of holding it in quite tight. Do you know what I mean? I didn't really know what to do with it. What happened? I didn't really know what to do with it, where to put it. I had nowhere to put it. But when you contacted me, it was almost as if when I read it, I went, that was what happened. I just breathed and I just thought, okay, I'm okay. Because I can say to somebody, I could say to you, which I hadn't said really, I could say to you that I know I'm supposed to put on my big girl pants and get on with it and deal with it, but I'm really hurt.
Yeah.
And I am quite emotional about it. Yeah. So I thank you for that. And that's what I think what I was trying to say the last time when I brought it up, I was trying to say, yeah. So I thank you for giving me that space to just say, yeah, this is a crock of crap.
You've given me that gift many, many times, Laura, too.
Thank you. I do feel really strongly though, because a lot of spiritual work, and people are like, lift your vibration and do all these things, and it's okay, and gratitude, and I
Sunshine and
agree.
lollipop juice.
Yeah, but you can't love and light bullshit away all the time. You just can't. And so I fully acknowledge those practices and being positive and gratitude and all of these things. But if you're feeling something, you got to go there. You've got to feel it, and not feel bad about it. That's the thing, because I always felt so bad about how I felt. And when I was doing work in person and I would do Reiki sessions, I once had someone come and lie on my Reiki table and burst into tears, and I went, yeah, sorry, I do that.
Do you think that there is a moment where you can do that to Kylie? Kylie, listen.
Leave it with me.
Listen, it's going to happen.
Not accepted.
We are going to break you down at some point, and you're just going to just
if I start, I will never stop, because there's like 42 years of built up. It's just not going to happen. It's going to be a fun
I'm starting my 3rd year of weekly with Lauren, so I know the feels, babe. But it really is always, every time my appointment comes around, it's not like I don't have something to talk about, and afterwards I feel fantastic.
I know, because you remember when I was 2 years old, I remember someone took my toy.
Like, I wish it was something. I wish it was something like that. It isn't. Like Laura, like she's delightful enough to ask me what's going on and stuff like this. But now I also realize she's just listening to my voice. She's not even listening to the words. She's listening to my voice.
Yeah, correct.
But, the session takes you where it takes you. And when they say you always get what you need, you get way more than what you need, so much more than what you'd ever dare to want, all that kind of stuff,
Correct.
I always feel so sort of relaxed, cheerful, and hungry. Basically, are the 3 things that I normally feel.
When she's hungry, I know I'm good.
She's like, I am like hungry. We're done.
Yeah.
We're going to eat something.
Yeah. And I think the interesting thing for me was that I wasn't going to pretend. I didn't feel like I needed to pretend.
Yeah.
I just didn't, because, for the most part, a lot of us practitioners, we think we're supposed to be in a certain place. We're supposed to be in a certain place, so we can't ever crack or crumble or have those moments where people can get through the cracks and get to us. But I didn't feel like I had to pretend. I could just say, yeah, it is what it is. And the thing was that I in the moment I also realized that I wasn't crying about them. I think I was giving myself empathy. And I was being compassionate with myself. And that was a nice place to be.
Yes.
A nice place.
Another beautiful one of Lauren's gifts.
Yeah.
I'm so glad Lauren called you, not me, because I would have told you to suck it up. Deal with it. It's not worth crying.
You would just started blowing stuff up, the 2 of you. Just would have been nuclear fusion time.
So you sent me the right person, so you knew, because you said.
I knew. I'm like, oh God, this is too big for me, Lauren. You need to call Amanda and help her emotionally deal with this. So don't.
She's got feelings.
If it's feelings related, okay? I will blessing water that shit away.
Give me a demon any day, not the emotions.
Yeah, that's me. Yin and yang, baby, yin and yang.
But isn't it beautiful? I think how we all have, and literally, and I know I say it all the time, but it is like being part of a sort of like it is like being part of either sort of like Marvel or the X-Men or some sort of superhero, where we all have our individual gifts that come together as a whole, and it all fits into the puzzle. But we really, really do, and it's beautiful, because we are exactly what each other needs at the moment that we need it. And I get all goosebumps, and I just think it's just beautiful. It's beautiful.
It is.
So thank you, all of you.
Well, thank you for saying that. That was
thank
beautiful.
you, Lauren.
Nice.
There is way much more to unfold for our beautiful Lauren.
Yes.
And for right now, the love and the healing energy and everything you are shows, and you couldn't hide it if you wanted to, and we're very appreciative of that. and the healing that you offer. You know, what's really important is healing in general. No one can heal you. You have to believe that you can be healed. And so you show up with that healing energy, and that other person who's coming to get your service matches that frequency. And that's how healing takes place. But in order for that healing to take place, you have to show up authentically as a healer. And you do that all day, every day, girlfriend. Even as a friend,
even as
I feel that from you.
Yeah.
And I don't have to pay you. And I'm like, woohoo, I can like, yeah, give it to me all day long. So yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, you are just you're just something that I think, oh God, this is gonna sound terrible, but something that people just have to experience. Right. I didn't mean that like yeah, okay. I mean that
good. That sounds good.
Yeah, okay. Okay, Lauren, why don't you tell our beautiful listeners where they can find you, learn more about you, and see everything that Lauren has to offer?
Okay. My website is beautifulradiantsoul.co. So everything's on there.
And on your social media as well.
Yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah, which I don't post a lot, people. It's just not my thing, but it's also beautifulradiantsoul.co.
Yes, but here's the thing too. The things that you do share, like it could be you write everything. You don't just share like a picture of the sunshine and you're like, you know, abundance is here. Like you write these really deep, beautiful, meaningful things, and your words are just everything. We didn't even talk about the fact that you have written a book. I know it's not out there.
Not yet.
Not published, right? My point is, how many people can actually say that? You have this beautiful gift of writing, and it's all over your blog. It's all over your social media. It's a part of who you are. And thank you for that expression.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, okay, everybody, this concludes our episode on our beautiful Lauren Calvert. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you are drawn in booking a reading, a healing, a guided meditation session, or a light body activation, or simply want to say hello, head on over to yoursoulwisdomshow.com. We thank you for allowing us to create this beautiful space, and we hope to see you again. Have a beautiful, blessed day. Bye, everybody.
Bye.